Welcome y'all to the Reality or Not podcast with the big homie Ed. Hey Ed, man, how you doing today, man?
I'm all right, man. What about yourself?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. Rainy day, but getting it in, enjoying the day. Got workout in and did old nigga shit like going to the doctor. But other than that, man, I'm doing pretty good, man. Um,
Okay. Doctor on a Saturday?
yeah, went to 2 doctor's appointments this morning and shit. Knocked that shit out. But yeah, shit was
Okay.
one for no diseases and shit. So I'm cool, But or they check to make sure that when there's whatever. But I don't want to go into
Just
full details. But all that being said, had to get
re-up on
the
your
had
E
to get the
pills.
nigga had to get the back checked out, nigga. Like nigga be waking up with pains and shit. I'm like, man, I was like, you gotta get this shit fixed. So
I said,
niggas,
oh man, almost 50.
yeah,
They
nigga,
get you that
man.
re-up on your they get you that re-up on your ED pills?
Nah, they they didn't give
Oh,
me those yet. It'd be nice and shit. I guess I don't know, but since nigga ain't got it, shit, I ain't got no. I didn't get no re up and shit. So, but
okay, okay.
go.
I thought
All
that's why
right, man.
people went to the
So
doctors on Sunday.
you say what?
I said I thought that's why people went to the doctor on Saturdays because
Oh,
there's an
that's the only
emergency
reason
situation.
to get
Yeah,
checked up and make
they need
sure
to
it
get
ain't nothing.
they good for Saturday night.
Yeah, nah, nigga, just more getting his back checked out, man. Shit, nigga, sleeping with heating pads and shit. I'm like, damn, this some old nigga shit, man. I'm like, god damn. But nah, everything is good and copacetic, man. So what we gonna do is this is one of the album series. First we did Life After Death from Biggie. Now we go do one of the classic albums or one of the albums that we hold in high regard with the Illmatic album. So we can jump right into it. And Nas, Illmatic, a lot to say about it, only because it has it's cemented within hip hop as one of the greatest albums ever. It has had its impact over years, and I feel like it's still relevant as far as lyrics and things of that nature. But we just want to walk through each track and just talk through some of the significant things about it and how it sticks out, and whether the 5 mic rating stands up now compared to was it 1994, and just understanding the whole idea of the album, because the album was pretty dope. It was in my opinion pretty short, but at the same time it had its impact and a lot of people hold it in high regard. So Ed, what's your opinion of this album? Or we can start from track to track and then we'll just give our opinion at the end. What do you think?
Yeah, it worked for me. We go track for track, build out
Okay.
the opinion. But no, you're right. Like, probably one of the monumental albums, one of the defining albums I think of East Coast hip hop. Well, hip hop period, but definitely East Coast hip hop in like the mid '90s. Like if you were looking at what the mid '90s sounded like for New York hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
this is like one of the albums you point somebody to
Okay.
before the quote unquote shiny suit era that Puff ushered in.
Yeah, so let me ask
Puff
this
in the
question.
baby era.
I was gonna ask you. I know you. I don't know if you still do it, but I know at one point in time you was buying your niece and nephew CDs. Is this one of the albums that you gave to them or was being considered?
It was, and I think it was probably like 2 or 3 years ago. Um, probably 3 years ago because I got it for my oldest niece on vinyl. I got everybody else a CD, but it wasn't Illmatic. I
Mm-hmm.
ended up choosing It Was Written because I felt like actually when I did the re-listen to Illmatic today, I was like, damn, maybe I should have went with Illmatic. But when I chose It Was Written for them, I felt like I chose for them. I think It Was Written is the more like so what I've said
Like a
as years has
more
passed.
digestible album, or
Yeah, what I've said is that I feel like, as years pass, I feel like Illmatic was the album from New York and It Was Written was for the world.
okay.
So I think if you were a diehard fan of New York hip hop, which I think you and me were at that time, like
Mm-hmm.
Illmatic is like a classic for you. But then It Was Written came out. It Was Written was like, man, you didn't have to be into like that New York sound, that boom bap sound necessarily. Like you had to,
Mm-hmm.
it was a little bit more polished and all of that. So I think at the time when I got an album for them, like at 3 years ago, that was probably more my mindset when I chose It Was Written. Um, I haven't repeated artists. I think I've been doing this like 10, 12 years now. So they just might be SOL. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's funny though, my nephew was 14. He does listen to Illmatic.
Oh, that's
So
dope. I mean,
I'll hear it playing sometimes in his room. So, because I played the album around him. Um, so, so yeah, as we're talking about it now, like, mm, probably that probably should have been the album I went with. It was just in my mindset at that time. It was, yeah, it was 2022. It was just more thinking about like It Was Written was probably the album that like. mm, like I said, it was more the, like you said, more easily digestible album and everything. So
mhm. Hey, hold on one
it,
second.
yeah,
I can't remember where we left off at. I know we were talking about uh the last I remember we was talking about the albums that you gave out to your family or whatever, and how you gave out it was written over Illmatic.
yeah.
So
I think we was pretty much done with that.
okay.
Um,
Cool. Well, I'm gonna just jump in. I'm gonna say like that's dope, blah blah blah, and try kind of give a little bit of context to it, and then I'll
right.
just edit this part out.
Okay.
Um, cool. Now that's pretty dope, man. That you was able to provide. Even It Was Written. I always go back and forth between which one I think is better, and I think I've decided that It Was Written was a better album just because it was able to be consumed on a larger or not larger platform, but to a larger audience. I think people. I mean, some people are like, well, you dumbed it down or anything like that, but I didn't really. I thought the lyrics was there, and I think that, I feel like the production was there as well to highlight Nas's lyrics from Illmatic or from It Was Written, but at the same time, I do feel like It Was Written was a gem, as in, us first listening to it, we didn't fully understand it, at least
Right.
from my standpoint. That it was kind of like I had to listen to it over and over and over to fully get it. But then things started coming to me more and more as far as the quality of the lyrics and the type of music that we were taking in at the time.
I'm with you on that. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
So cool. So we'll jump right into it. We jump from track one, and then we probably go past this one pretty quick because track one was an intro. But Genesis, it had a sample of Wild Style, and it was meant to highlight, Nas growing up in Queensbridge and things of that nature. Honestly, I have to say, for me, this was automatic. I used to skip this all the time. I thought, I like rap intros, and him, not hearing him on the track, it just made it easier for me just to jump right into New York State of Mind. How do you feel about that? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, pretty much. I mean, but you know, going on a re-listen, like I could see starting off with it. Like you said, it's it's funny as you were saying that and if you talked about of course there are the Wild Style references, the Wild Style clips in there, as well as the snippet from his little verse from what was it, Live at the Barbecue.
Live at the Barber, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then but it's funny, like, it makes me think about like Biggie's Ready to Die,
Mm-hmm.
where Nas and Ghost and Ray was talking
Mm-hmm.
about what was that? Was that yeah, that was no, yeah,
No, only built for Cuba links.
yeah, oh yeah, Only Built for Cuban Links.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it just made me think about the Biggie intro to that album, like
Mm-hmm.
how like now that one was a slightly different because it went through like big like growing up, like being born, he a kid wilding out, and then he robbing. But you think about like the different hip hop samples that were used, like the different songs that are played to kind of show that progression. And
Mm-hmm.
like I was like, dang, man, first big bit the album cover, now big bite in the intro uh concept.
Yeah,
Uh
no, I can see. I mean, honestly, it just I feel
I'm
like
not saying
sometimes. No, no, no. I'm saying like sometimes I feel like with black folks, we feel like, and I mean this could be white people too. I don't know, like or any other race, but if somebody do something similar to somebody else, it's automatic biting. Yeah. And I mean, it can only be so many styles or whatever. And then sometimes too, even from that perspective, we tend to, we would hoard ideas. We would have ideas that we won't fully execute. But if somebody else, takes that idea and runs with it and make it that much better, then it's like, well, no, you owe me because you didn't, because I came up with it. And it's like, well, no, we don't, we can come up with ideas, but it's like the execution part of it is the biggest part. So, I mean, honestly, back then, I didn't see the reference, but as you said, I mean, been like doing a recap and listening to the album more recently, I could see, some of the similarities as far as the styles. But it's tricky too, because, it's almost as if they had to get it from someone else, just because, this album came out, was it April of 94, I think?
Yeah, I think April 94.
Yeah, so then you got Biggie that came out September of 94. So, he was recording, at the same time. So it wasn't, I can't see him like listening to the Nas album. It was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do for my album. So,
yeah. Nah, and what's funny is like that connection. I ain't just make that. I just made that connection 60 seconds ago when you made the record. Because I was like, I knew it was wild. I've known it was wild style, but I was like, dang. But big, like to what you're saying, like I don't even, like I said, I'm joking when I said I don't want to.
No, I feel you. Nah, look, I can get if I'm saying I can understand where Raekwon and Ghostface is coming up with it.
Right?
Like
it's almost like, dang, y'all did the album cover like. I mean, y'all wasn't hating enough to like pick apart the intro too.
Yeah.
But then it's funny, as you said, like, people do something and then somebody else builds on it. Then made me think of like, dang, Nas, like, man, you said you was repping dead presidents and Jay took a hot line and made a hot song. Mm-hmm. I mean, now you made a decent little intro and Big made a hot intro. Like, dang, Nas, like everybody like
everybody making shit hotter.
You did it.
Oh, that's funny. Nah, and it like I always like I listen to what's that, the Volume 1, the Jay-Z shit in my lifetime, and I always think like, Jay use a Big's formula, and it didn't work for him.
Nah.
And when he used that and don't get me wrong, I mean it's some pretty good songs on there. Man, it's weird. Some people say that album's like a classic, which I didn't really, I didn't really see that. I actually showed you that CD like. I think he was coming from Grand Valley. I can't remember what it was, but it's just one of them like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because they had to hurry up and push out, Streets is Watching and Volume 2 and all that stuff. But it's just crazy to think like, well, because Puffy I don't know if he executive produced on it, but I know he
and in it.
Yeah. Definitely, because he was with Lil Kim, and I know what girls like. Anyway, man, let's go ahead and jump back to the Nas album. But it's just interesting to see, like, when the formula don't work, don't nobody say anything, but it do work.
When it do work, everybody talking about how much you bid and everything. Like, not that like,
yeah, nigga. Look, random side conversation, nigga. I was watching I think it might have been Brandon Jennings. He was talking about how somebody was using his move in the NBA. And I was like, nigga, y'all hooping. Like, somebody's using your move. Like, it wasn't like even if it wasn't like a signature patent, UTEP two-step from like Tim Hardaway or something like that.
Did a version of the UTEP two-step, dog. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, that was named for Tim. Like, that was off of Tim Hardaway, dog. Come on, man. Like, man. Like, you. Look, I don't recall Brandon Jennings ever doing any like move, any crossover that I was like, yo, that's the Brandon Jennings.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, man, people tend to take ownership for things that, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you say, hey, look, was it Streamsters or what was the thing? The site that Facebook, when a man got sued off of. It was saying how they was biting, like how he took his formula and put it into his own thing rather than Friendster or something like that. And the dudes ended up suing him for it. But he was like, well, yo, this is my. I mean, I stopped working with y'all and I wanted to do my own thing. I think he still had to pay him out, but it's just one of them things. It's like, well, hey, look, I pay y'all off and I'll do my own thing and keep it moving. But all that being said, like, how do you feel about New York State of Mind? Because that's one of my favorite tracks on it. That was, not, hearing the album, that's the first song off of the beginning, track number 2. Listening to that song, it made me, and give a little bit more context, the first single on this album was It Ain't Hard to Tell. And one of the things that used to kind of annoy me at the time, and I feel like New York was the influence on hip hop at the time. And, we could talk about, how New York was hating and doing all of this stuff. And, the South got something to say about Outkast. But I just remember that song on Rap City for a long time at number 1. And I didn't understand, and I couldn't understand it. I was like, why is this song number 1? But I don't really know it. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like it was force fed down my throat to like it, but I still didn't like it. It's still one of the least. Well, there's 2 other songs I really don't, like listen to like that on the album, whether it's Halftime and One Time for Your Mind. But at the same time, it was like when I heard this song, I was like, okay, this dude is different, because I didn't hear it until, I think I borrowed your tape and I was like, oh, okay, this is like, this dude can actually rap, so that was kind of like the song I had on repeat for a long time, and then, I got to Life's a Bitch, and then Life's a Bitch ended up being, like my favorite song, and I was playing that on repeat, and then, then Memory Lane became my favorite song. But back to New York State of Mind, it's the way that the song was structured, and the fact that I didn't realize that it was done in one take. Like, it was literally just Nas just rapping and almost like Primo just starting the track and just saying, hey, go with it. So it's just always like the things that he was saying on it was just, like, don't put my shit in your box if the shit eats tapes. You know what I'm saying? Because, back then we had tapes, and, if you put the tape in the wrong way and it ends up, getting ate up in the stereo or in your little boom box and stuff like that, then you either had to tape it or you had to buy a new one. You know what I'm saying? So it's little shit like that that always stuck out to me. Like, just, there's another line, thinking of cash flow, booty, and shelter. And it's like, just hear, we say, I'm a hijack Delta. It was like, he was saying it so vividly that it, like, you could see it, you know what I'm saying? And that was just always dope to me from that song. And that's why I kind of got into the repeat. And then this was kind of the Primo era too, where, if you had to have a Primo track. And to add a little bit more context to this album, like, this is probably the beginning, in my opinion, of having multiple producers on an album. It used to be strictly one producer, one rapper, and that was it. So even having AZ featured on the albums as well too sticks out a lot. But just hearing, like, Primo, I think Primo did 3 tracks. He did this one, did Represent, and he did Memory Lane. So, like, and like I said, this is the time where, I'll stand by this to this day. I'm not really a huge fan of Gangstar. Like, I never liked Guru as a rapper. I always hated his voice for some reason. So all that being said, hearing Nas on a Primo track, it just made it that much better. It was like, oh, you got the dope ass production and you got these lyrics right here, perfect marriage. So
I'm with you. I ain't shit on that.
I mean, I love Jazzmatazz. Look, it's funny that I like Primo over here. I like Guru over here. Dude, I have
like Guru when he didn't work with Primo.
Yeah, I have to say, I have probably at least 4 or 5 Jazzmatazz albums that I loved. I thought they were dope. But hearing them, I'm like, man, like, hearing Guru with him, outside of Moment of Truth. Moment of Truth is one of my favorite albums ever. But hearing him outside, like, doing his own thing and working with different types of singers and stuff like that, it literally was a whole different vibe to me, versus like Primo and Nas. Like Primo and Nas, with the exception of Nostradamus, was just it was just magic.
Right.
Like because even Primo can say Nas on Nostradamus. I was like, damn, like on that. But hearing him on everything else, from them 3 tracks that I mentioned to I Gave You Power, to Nas's Like, to New York State of Mind Part 2, it was just automatic magic for me. And even what was the track that he did on the Stillmatic? I think it was track 8. I can't remember the name of it, but I know he was going at people. Was it Destroy and Rebuild? Did you do that?
Oh yeah, that was going
he was going at Nori and just killing niggas. But anyway, that's my feelings on Streets or New York State of Mind. How do you feel about that track?
Well, quick sidebar, and we don't have to spend more than like 30 seconds on it. So, Primo, you saying, of course, you didn't really care for him over Guru, basically. Primo, Guru spinning on his beats or Group Home?
Oh, Guru. Listen.
I just wanted to see how bad it was.
Listen, he ain't that bad. Listen, Group Home has one of the best produced albums I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But their raps, oh my God. And this is my thing, and like I said, I don't want to sidebar too much, but like this is my problem with New York rappers or New York in general, as far as how they feel about their rappers. New York rappers New York people will say, well, Group Home was better than your favorite Southern rapper and shit like that. It was like, nah, them niggas is trash. Them niggas was trash back then, and they trash now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know them niggas is terrible. Some of them niggas from OGC was trash. Like, not Starang was dope, but I'm just saying in general, like everybody went dope out of New York, and Primo couldn't save everybody. But I was checking out something too. I didn't realize that what's the dude? Freddie Fox was like Primo wanted Freddie Fox in Gangstar instead of Guru. I was like, that was unique, but they're all from different areas and shit like that, but they ended up working together. But like I said, I don't want to sidebar too much, but yeah.
That would have been crazy.
It wouldn't have worked. Nobody would hear Freddie Fox. No. Freddie Fox said something, and that nigga thought that shit was sweet, and that shit was not sweet. It was on the Moment of Truth album. I can't remember the name of it.
Walk around with their tools. It's the Melissa.
That shit was terrible. These shit walking around with their tools. I was like, nigga, what the fuck is that? That shit was terrible.
I feel like if I ever met Freddie Fox in person, like that would be the one question I'd have for him. Like what? Like, am I missing something? Like
no, you're not.
So hard, and the song ends on that. Like, am I missing a metaphor somewhere in there? Like, what do you mean? Even mechanics walk around with their tools.
Yeah, that shit.
Like, they mechanics. Like, I don't.
That's what they supposed to do.
I don't know. Like, help me know why that song was so hard that like Primo felt like the song could end right after he completes this bar.
I mean, I liked his energy starting out on the track in the verse, but I was like, that's not the way to end it though. And structuring lyrics and stuff like that, you always gotta start and end on something great, and that shit did not end well.
Okay, last sidebar, and then I'll give my brief thoughts on New York State of Mind. So, better line. Even mechanics walk around with their tools, or lemonade was once a popular drink and it still is.
Mechanics walking around with their tools.
Okay. I'm with you on that.
Lemonade is my favorite drink, and it still is one of the worst rap lines I've ever heard. And the placement of it, because it was right in the middle of the song, that shit was even bad. But so okay, another sidebar. Let me ask you this question. Lemonade is my favorite drink, and it still is, or fish, which is my favorite dish. What do you say? Fish, which is my favorite dish. Walk around and it's still a wish, whatever, from Rakim. Which
Oh
one is
yeah.
worse?
Which one's worse?
Oh, and without fish, which is my favorite dish, without no money, is still a wish.
Which one's the worst bar?
Yeah.
Probably the lemonade joint. I mean,
Yeah, lemonade is still bad. I go with lemonade as well.
Isn't great at all, especially when you think about like the regard with which we hold around him. But you can still say like when you like fish was my favorite dish, but without without cash is still a wish, whatever. Like yeah, I'm kind of feeling that because sometimes for the dinner I want to make like catfish fillets. Them shit's expensive. So
yeah, catfish and oxtail, all that shit is up there.
Yeah, we get catfish nuggets. We don't get catfish fillets. So I mean, I can kind of feel that, bar. I mean, yeah, you might be right. There's not too much that's worse than that. I had somebody tell me that they thought the Wicked. Well, actually, what they told me they think Greg Nice is the worst rapper of all time. And for whatever reason, I decided that like I can't really co-sign that. I was like, just because like yeah, he's not great, but I mean, Silk the Shocker is out there somewhere.
Oh yeah, I mean, no. So I would when they say the worst rapper of all time in that scenario, I would think that they're talking about New York rappers.
No, this person was talking about like in the entirety of rap ever.
Oh no, it's way worse rappers.
Yeah.
I mean, especially Silk is definitely high up there. Damn,
I told my boy, I was like, man, I was like, I can go look at the No Limit roster and probably pull 4 or 5 people that are worse than Greg Nice. And then I thought of Silk the Shocker.
What was that dude, Mims? He came
This
out
is
back
why I'm hot.
Yeah, he's up there. Yeah, it's a lot worse rappers than Greg Nice. Like I said, I didn't even like people liked them, but I didn't. I tried to like him. I even bought his single and shit, but Sadat X. I ain't like that nigga either. You know what I'm saying?
He just had like that high pitched voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like he didn't say
Lord
anything.
Jamar wasn't that good either. Look, niggas was bringing up Lord Jamar. Like Lord Jamar was going at it with Eminem, and he's going at it with Fat Joe recently. And Fat Joe was like, "Man, you was the worst one out of the group." And I was like, I mean, and like I said, I didn't like Sadat X that much, but I think I like Sadat X more than him.
Yeah, he was better than Lord Jamar. Yeah.
So I remember that nigga showed his dick on motherfucking eyes. And I was like, damn, what the fuck?
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, that nigga's in the fucking shot. Nigga, I remember some of that eyes shit vividly, nigga. Like, Eyes was dog, I've been rewatching Eyes, and dog, that is an uncomfortable ass show, dog. Like, dog, it was a part where and we get back to the Nas conversation, but it was a part in there where Schillinger, that nigga was talking to Beecher, and this is probably like maybe episode 2 or 3, and that nigga had his legs crossed, and then he was like wiggling his toes. Like,
come on now, man.
On his chest. I'm like, it Beecher's like trying to move away from his feet or from his toes and shit. But yeah, man, that shit was hella uncomfortable, nigga. Like, nigga, we gotta do a pod on Oz, nigga, like on that Impact, nigga, because Oz was a wild ass show, nigga. Like,
yeah, I'd have to do a rewatch, but like you said, I would probably stop after Adebisi got killed.
I can see that. Yeah, no, that was that. You know why he left? You know why he got killed or why he left the show?
Because he was tired of doing like the freak off parties.
Nah, nigga, that nigga left the show for Mummy 2.
Oh, he was in Mummy.
Yep, he left the show for Mummy 2. I read something where he. This is what I'm telling you, like this knowledge and shit to just be in the head and shit for no reason and shit just do like. But now I was reading because they didn't want to kill him off, and he had thought that his role was gonna be a lot bigger within the movie, and that it was gonna continue on. But Mummy 2 pretty much flopped. But yeah, that was primarily the main reason why he left the show was to do that movie.
I mean, I don't think it was a bad play because I mean, I guess on the one hand,
It's a movie.
Yeah,
Shit. I mean, if you could blow up and and do something in the movie, then I mean, I get it. And Adebisi was kind of like that. He was an interesting character. I still don't know how the nigga kept the hat on, but that nigga was an interesting character where it's like interesting characters or actors it's like what's that dude Stanfield Lakeith Stanfield, like the dude's kind of like an interesting dude, so you can throw him in a movie and he's either gonna blow the movie up or he is gonna go the other way. That's Adebisi to me, where he has that ability to captivate an audience to pay attention to him and shit.
Right.
So,
that's crazy. Okay, I guess my thoughts on New York State of Mind. I guess finally getting back on track. I thought, like, when I was doing the re-listen, I was like, I thought it was a dope song to like basically open the album with. You come with the intro, and then you get that beat drop, and then like you said, the wordplay, the lyrics, and all that. It was, and I could feel you on. It ain't hard to tell. Like, probably if you want to go like a pop. So we'll get to it, but like it was, if you really weren't feeling it ain't hard to tell, or if you were trying to figure out like why the Source magazine like was hyping Nas up so much, like you heard that and you were like, oh, I kind of get it, like like that was a song to let you know like, oh, this is why New York going crazy for Nas, like. And you like you said something about monkey flips and all that. Like, you just look at the wordplay, some of the stuff he was just saying. You just
rappers are monkey flipping with the funky rhythm I be kicking. Musician and flip the composition. A pain I'm like Scarface sniffing cocaine. Pull out an M16 with a pen I'm extreme. And it's just like that shit was just dope. Like the way
you just looking like you like damn he. And like you said to what you were saying earlier, like you can kind of visualize everything he's saying, and it's that whole what you just rapped, because I don't remember lyrics like you, but what you just rapped, like that monkey, like you seeing it in your head, you seeing the Scarface sniffing blow, like you seeing an M16, and it's like it was crazy wordplay, and like, but it was vivid and everything, and you throw the Primo beat underneath it, like I mean it was a dope way to open the album.
Let me ask you this question. How do you feel about, and of course, I mean, time, because that's between the first and third album, but which one do you like more, New York State of Mind Part 2 or New York State of Mind Part 1?
Probably because one is fresh in my head. I'm gonna probably lean towards one, but I've recalled like probably in the past couple of years here, like because sometimes I go when you think about I Am and between I Am and Nostradamus, you think about how like that time period for Nas, his music was heavily bootleg, and like obviously Nostradamus suffered more than I Am, but even I Am suffered a little bit from the bootlegging, and it was like I was like, so sometimes you kind of look at I think Jay himself when he threw out the 4 albums in 10 years, and I Am and Nostradamus were the two do albums in that equation. You kind of like, you don't think about I Am as like necessarily a great album, so then you kind of like in some ways New York State of Mind too, like it's easy to look at it as like, oh, he was just trying to like get back some of that
capture magic in the bottle again.
Yeah, and like but it's not a bad song. Like I said, I haven't heard it in a while. But
I love that song.
Yeah, when I go back and listen, I'm like, yo, this joint ain't bad. Like it's dope. Like I probably have to.
He just had a lot of missteps on I Am.
Yeah. But like, next, which one do you prefer?
I prefer one. I definitely prefer one. I feel like one has more memorable lines. To it that sticks with me more. And don't get me wrong, I'd probably at this point probably listen to I Am more than Illmatic, only because that's me growing up with Nas, right? So that's like, I mean, I've definitely listened to Illmatic more than I listened to. Listen to It Was Written more than I've listened to Illmatic. you know, but it was just kind of like off of the strength of the bass, you know, like, but I'm saying like I've listened, not to say I've listened to New York State of Mind Part 2 more than New York State of Mind Part 1, but at least New York State of Mind Part 1, the lyrics stick to me more, even though I thought the lyrics were dope as fuck in New York State of Mind Part 2. Like when he does that little thing, talk about the nigga that he said like 10, you talk about 10 niggas that he started with, then you talk about 9 where you know, like, and this nigga jail, this nigga got killed, this nigga was a snitch. Like he get down to like 3, then he talking about like how you left with me and type of shit. I was like, that was dope as fuck, you know. So
now I'm about to go back and listen to it when we get done with this. I forgot all about that breakdown, but like,
nah, it was some dope ass like. But the thing is, I mean, when you got like, I mean, because like this is where you know we try to find the fine line of like what's dope and then how we feel about it, because this is where I feel like even with the 5 mic shit, right? Like the 5 mic shit is what, in my opinion, forced me to listen to this album more. And it's like, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think it's a classic album, and I wouldn't take the 5 mics from it, you know. But at the same time, I feel like there were certain things that, and like I said, it could be preference and stuff. Like I told you, my feelings about the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. You know, like, you know, I didn't think that it was a classic, but I see how people see it as a classic. I don't know. I don't necessarily have that feeling about this album. I do think that it's a classic, but I do like Illmatic more than I like this album. I like it was written more than I like this album.
No, so. I think this album, like I said, in between the source, and I think at that time, like, you know, obviously, like, I don't know, this the hype that you would probably heard about this album on social media was out there, but I think even without social media, the hype, and you know, we were over there, you know, we were in Muskegon, so it was like we were nowhere close to New York, like, and you talking about, you were hearing about this Nas guy in 93, 94, and then like you said, probably the Source magazine was our main source of like probably like information on rap, but like even the little offshoot magazines, Rap Pages, Rap Sheet, like them magazines, like. But like you said, definitely the source that like it was, man, it was, this album was like heavily hyped. Like it was like you like it was no flying under the radar for us. Like with this one, like in some way, like, and like without Nas having like a Dr. Dre to introduce him like Snoop did, like. You know, I'm not gonna say it was as hyped up as anticipated as Doggy Style.
It was hyped up from a New York perspective.
Yeah, it's like that from a New York perspective, and it's without like, it's like, and the anticipation for Doggy Style came from Snoop being on deep cover, and then Snoop basically being like the Chronic, basically it was basically like a Dr. Dre and Snoop album essentially. Like he was heavily featured on that album, and then so that built up the anticipation. But Nas, it was I don't really remember Live at the Barbecue like that. Like,
me neither. Or I mean, you talking like Live at the Barbecue, even Halftime, because you know that was on the Zebrahead soundtrack.
It was Ain't Hard to Tell, and like you said, the fact that Ain't Hard to Tell, when Rap City did their countdown, it was on there for like 472 straight weeks. Like,
and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, why y'all keep trying to make me like this song? You know, like that, you know, but you know, and we go do this, but I do feel like we do need to cover like kind of the source of 5 mic shit. Like I really, because I feel like that influence. Don't get me wrong, I still think this is a 5 mic album or a quality ass album, but you know, it forced us to go back. And I remember, you know, I think I still got the issue somewhere, but I remember trying to find the issue just to own the issue that Nas had the 5 mics.
Yeah,
you know.
I bought the Made Man album off of the Source ratings.
But this is why I'm saying we got to go deep with it, because I feel like they were forcing us, whether it's from the vibe with the beef with East Coast West Coast, you know, from, you know, I'm shit fucking, and this is where, you know, the credibility, you know, took the Source down. I mean, Lil Kim got La Bela Mafia, I think that was the name of the album. You know, that got 5 mics, you know, so, and I listened to it, don't get me wrong, I bought it. I listened to it just off of the strength Yeah, nigga, it's a sad time.
I'm not feeling though. Like the source said it was 5 mics. Like it was. For me, the source started losing credibility when that Made Man album. I think it got 4 mics or something. It didn't get 5, but it got a lot more mics than you would. And then it was shortly after you heard.
No, I got 4.5. You got 4.5.
Yeah, and it was like, come on, man. Like, no.
But listen. So look at it like this, right? I'm a huge Outkast fan, and listening to them, and like maybe I don't think I have anybody because I think I was extremely open-minded. I honestly feel like I have a way of just listening to music and not necessarily. I mean, I may be a little bit more opinionated now with being older, but I feel like I have a way of listening to music and not having an expectation of it in a sense. Like I remember
the conflict. You're clearly open-minded.
So I'll say this: like I remember listening to Outkast, Southern Playlistic, Cadillac Music, and I remember listening to that album. And I was like, damn, like I don't skip no songs. Like it wasn't, we have our favorites, but I mean, and I remember I think it might have got 4 mics. At most, it got 4.5. Yeah, I want to say I got 4 because I know
because Equipment I got 4.5, right?
Yeah, well, no, Equipment I got 5.
Okay.
Equipment I got 5, or they got 4.5, and they went back and gave it 5.
Yeah.
No, it didn't. It definitely didn't get 5. It got 4.5. You're right. My bad. Okay. But they went back. I don't know if you remember that issue, but they went back and gave that they were supposed to got. But shit, fucking. But this is what I'm saying. Like the whole source shit, right? Like they gave fucking De La Soul is Dead and the fucking first De La album all 5 mics. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and even De La Soul don't even fuck with the De La Soul is Dead album. It's like that shit was fucking dreary and just whatever. I don't want to go too deep in that shit, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like they were, it was New York based or East Coast based, so we get it. So all that being said, that had an influence on us buying other albums, moving forward, So it's just always tricky that I want to say it was written got 4.
4.5 or something, but it got at least 4. You're right.
I want to say it got at least 4. So it's little things like that. Like I said, I told you I hold that album. Like I said, it could be a preference thing too. I mean, I hold that album. I like that album more than I like it was Illmatic, even though I feel like I'm not taking away from the 5 mics. I do think it was an extremely quality album with the shortness. Like my only beef with Illmatic, if anything, was that it was short. And come to find out with that, like it was just based off of bootlegging and stuff like that. But it is what it is. I mean, I would hope that I still have an open mind towards that album and I still enjoy it. But I feel like we were forced to listen to it based off of New York biases or New York publication biases.
Right.
So,
I'm with you.
So let me ask you this question: how you feel about "Life's a Bitch"? That's track number 3 on the album, produced by was it LES? I think LES produced that. How do you feel about that track?
That's probably my favorite track on the album. I like the horns at the end.
The horns is dope. And that was his pops, but that shit was dope.
Yeah. But like you said, you got the gate. I was about to say that. AZ, the only feature on the album, like in his verse was AZ still eat off of that verse. And then I
didn't know that they said that AZ that track created a bidding war for him at one point in time, like when when he ended up getting signed. So
he only had that one verse that sparked off a bidding war, but even I think when you initially hear it, like back then, like I mean, it was just the AZ opening up, like visualizing the realism of life and actuality. Fuck who's the baddest. Like he opens the verse up and you like open the song up and you like, damn, this dope as hell. But then it's like you listen to Nas, like it ain't like I woke up early in my born day. I'm 20. It's a blessing. The essence of adolescence leave my body. Like now I'm celebrated. That. Think you brought up on the last.
This is a confirmed and celebrated because I made it. 1/4 through life, some godly like thing created. Got rhymes 365 days annual plus some. Load the mic and bust one. Cause will I puss from my brain and my brain vein, money maintained, or go against the grain, simple and plain. Like, man, it like I feel like I don't want to cut you off, but I feel like that track, in my opinion, had the most quotables.
Yeah.
Period. Like, it was just like, the buck that bought a bottle could have struck the lotto. Once I stood on the block, loose cracks produced stacks. I cooked up and cut small pieces to get my loot back. It was like nigga, I never sold a drug in my life. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? I was selling drugs mentally on this track, like listening to this shit. So that shit is like so fucking like. So let me ask you this question: who had the better verse between the two? Or in your opinion, like whose verse that if you just had the horns in that verse, would you have rolled with?
Man, at this point, probably when this probably from college, probably up until probably like a few years ago, I probably would have said AZ. Now I would say Nas. Like you said, like you just look at that entire verse, like you said, robbing foreigners, take the green cars, dip to the project with my quick cash, got my first piece of ass smoking
blunts with hash. Now it's all about cash in the abundance. Niggas I used to run with just rich and doing years in the hundreds. That switched my motto.
Like that, not. Obviously, AZ's verse is dope, but it's like, man, there's a lot of substance in Nas's verse, and like you said, just you visualizing these things, like. I mean, fuck who's the baddest, a person's status depends on salary. My mentality is money oriented. I'm destined to live the dream for all my peeps who never made it. I mean,
but we in the sentence in the hood we run the sentence of something must got in us because all of us turn the sentence not some resting in peace and some ascending in San Quentin. Others such as myself are trying to carry your own tradition. Like, it's a hard one. Like, so. I mean, I'll let you go ahead and jump into it, but like, bro, like listening to that shit is like hearing AZ's verse is like, oh damn, man, can't nothing step to that. And then you hear Nas' verse, you be like, damn, shit.
Yeah.
Like who did what? And I hate to compare like verses and verses because I never cared about I just like niggas that have dope verses. But that's one of the tracks. Like I think if I had to pick between the two, I probably would go AZ. Just because of, like you said, the person's status depends on salary. And my mentality is money orientated and that's to live the dream. All but people never made it because it's just like shit like that. Like because it like I said, I can identify with it without identifying with it, right?
Right.
And I tell people that all the time. Like even with NWA, like I can identify with what NWA is talking about, but I can't identify with whether it's selling drugs or smacking hoes or like shit like that, but I can identify with just the realism in the music. Right. So hearing that part from both of them, like I mean, but then you could go to Nas and be like the buck that bought a bottle could have struck the lotto. It's like, damn, it's like it's like the black man's plight. Right. It's like, damn, like how do you move forward and shit like that. So it's like digging a little bit deeper into that shit, like. I mean, like I said, if it's not an easy one to pick between the two, but if I had to make a choice, I would have probably. I mean, honestly, it's the wrong decision. As far as careers, like AZ definitely didn't do what Nas did, or impact within the music. But I mean, hearing AZ. Rap on that track is like one of my favorite moments being younger. So
right, yeah, definitely, yeah. But I'm with you.
So we move forward. How do you feel about so the next track so back to this track, right? So I was looking up some stuff, right, and I didn't realize like this is funny too because we were talking about the Biggie shit, right? So they were saying like how Nas originally wanted the Juicy Fruit beat for this. Which I can, listening into my head, I can see that working. But this is almost like the Biggie Nas thing is like, well, would that have worked for this track, or do you think that it'll work as much? Because they said LES showed up with the yearning for your love shit by yearning for your love by Gap Band, like. Do you think that it might have had a a similar impact or as much of an impact or no impact? Like, what's your feelings on that?
Man, like considering like, cause so in my head I'm hearing "Life's a Bitch." I'm hearing it over the Juicy beat, and I'm hearing it how Big made Juicy, and like
Mm-hmm.
how, like to me, like I don't think it would have worked. Like I think for what the subject matter on "Life's a Bitch," like they're saying like "Life's a Bitch," and like you kind of had this beat that wasn't like Juicy, and maybe it's because of how Big flipped it. Juicy just had. I mean, it was his first single. It had like,
Biggie put his stamp on it.
yeah, and it had like a pop feel to it, like as close as you could get to like a pop beat and still kind of being hip hop back in the mid 90s. Like I don't know that. Like to me, like thinking about that, like I couldn't imagine hearing "Life's a Bitch" over that kind of beat. Like it, and maybe, and who knows how it might have got flipped if they would rhymed on it. Excuse me, like, but like you said, it's the fact that like Biggie put a stamp on it. It's one of those things. If somebody will come along today and use that sample, you're gonna think of Biggie's Juicy. Like I said, Biggie's put his stamp on it. So like maybe the way that like maybe I can't give like it's hard to give an opinion without having like seeing how Big, you know,
Mm-hmm.
worked that beat and everything, and like trying to hear like Nas and AZ's verses over that beat, and it's like, cause that's not like "Life's a Bitch" is not a bad beat at all. Like not
It
like
worked for it. It's
yeah,
literally one of my favorite Gap Band songs. So,
yeah,
um, I look at it like this, right? Look at was it Lifestyles of the Rich and Shameless, Big L,
mhm,
and then the One More Chance remix, Biggie, and same sample. One is light years better than the other. I'm talking
I
like
mean,
it's not even close.
and you saying that, I'm like, man, I don't even remember the Big L song.
Yeah,
So
listen,
I get this what it
and
says.
even Big L did a remix for the video version for that song. So even the video version had a different sample than what was on the album version, which had the switch. I call not switch. Well, it was Elder Barge, but had the Elder
Right.
Barge sample to it, and I'm talking about like light years different.
Yeah.
So listening to "Life's a Bitch," I think it would have worked, but where Biggie took it, it would have definitely overshadowed their version.
Right. Yeah.
It'd have been a lot better because that was the one thing that was dope about Big, right? Big may not have been your favorite lyricist or anything like that, but Big could take a track. And I'm not saying that Nas doesn't do that either, or even Jay-Z or any other rappers, but like there were, and not to put Big on this pedestal or anything like that. And like I said, we talking about Nas and his Illmatic and how great he was, but like Big can jump on the track, and then now you're just listening to what he's saying, and then the track is the platform for him to be delivering that music.
Right.
But he made it that much dope. I mean, like Big wasn't really saying, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. When I was dead broke, yo, you couldn't picture this.
Right.
Like it wasn't. I mean, he was saying, some dope shit, but it wasn't like he was saying anything like, that buck the bottle could have struck the lotto. One side still on the block, loose cracks produce stack. It wasn't like he was saying anything that was like totally intricate or anything like that, but he was saying some dope shit that made you pay attention to his
Yeah.
lyrics.
Yeah.
But that's my feelings on it. So
I got you. I agree with you on that.
yeah. So fast forward, The World Is Yours, produced by Pete Rock. I think that was his second single.
I think so.
What's your opinions of that song?
like it.
Mhm.
I mean, I do. I understand why it's a dope song and everything.
Mhm.
Like you said, P Rock, dope production on this part. Nas's lyrics are on point. Like it was like even going. I don't know. I like it, but it don't.
It's not a standout to me, at least. I
Yeah,
was surprised that it was a single. It wasn't a bad song. I mean, I like the
yeah,
song. I mean, it's like one of my favorite lines off of there. And I feel like I feel like this in life in general, when a nigga be like, "I need a new nigga for this black cloud to follow." When it's after me, it's too hard to see tomorrow. I'm
yeah,
like, damn, like that's fucking life, like in general. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just how it. That's just what life is. But because I remember, because I didn't like the video. I thought the video was terrible,
yeah.
but I
That
thought
was
the song
yeah,
was cool. I remember Darius like he fucked that song from like the beginning. I was like,
yeah. I
I
remember.
wasn't really, like, but then like I said, he eventually, it was a song that I liked, but it wasn't anything. This album is filled with a lot of songs that aren't meant for radio, which
Yeah,
is good or bad. And the way that we take in music at that point in time, in my opinion, I felt like it was a transition to, deeper track albums or deeper track songs on
right.
albums versus like, I gotta have these three singles and then you listen to the albums. Like, no, this album was literally meant for hip hop heads.
Yeah,
And
yep.
it wasn't meant for, South consumption. It wasn't meant from West Coast consumption. It was just meant like, of course there was, certain tracks that had, different feels that, that can draw you in, whether it's Life's a Bitch or It Ain't Hard to Tell with the Michael Jackson sample. But at the same time, it was just like,
If you were a fan of New York rap in the mid '90s, this was like one of your sound. This was like probably your top three soundtracks. Like I almost don't know. Like if you're talking about, and I'll go to '90s. I'll go up to probably like 97, 98, kind of when like the bad boy sound started taking over. Like
mm-hmm,
if you're talking about, if you're a diehard fan of East Coast, just East Coast music, like
mm-hmm.
this,
This is your soundtrack.
yeah, this got to be in there because I'm off the top of my head, I'm thinking like that. You probably throw Wu Tang's 36 Chambers in there. Um,
Mob Deep, Infamous,
yep, Infamous. I guess Only Built
Cuban
for Cuban Links
Links.
is thrown in there with
Mm-hmm.
95. Yeah, and then
Yep, 95.
and you could do Reasonable Doubt. Well,
Was that a Meyer CD? I can't remember. Was that a
which one?
Meyer CD for you?
No,
Only built for Cuban links.
nah, that one.
AZ,
Bang
um,
spoke out that.
Do or Die was definitely in that was a Meyer CD for me.
That was that one. It wasn't my one for me. The Raekwon one. I remember my mom took me to go get it. Then we had to go to the laundromat. I remember reading the liner notes and
Mm-hmm.
the laundromat. Funny thing, like if you would have asked me, like if you would have said to me though, like between like Reasonable Doubt and Illmatic, which one is probably embodies more that New York sound in like the mid '90s?
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably say Illmatic.
Yeah, I
Um,
got you on that. Yeah,
Like
I feel you on that.
that's how much I think, like you said, like Illmatic is. That's why, like I said earlier at the top of the podcast, I felt like Illmatic was from New York. Like
Hey,
Illmatic was.
wait! Before you go into that, let me add a little bit of context to what we say a Meyer CD is.
We
So,
talked about this before. Go
no,
ahead.
I mean, but they may not have listened to the first, one or three podcasts, but we used to have this thing where, I mean, it's past the statute of limitations now. But what we used to do was we would go into these different department stores and we would switch the prices of the CD, and we would get it for a lesser price. So we would I mean, I ain't gotta go into full details, but we would get the CDs cheaper than what they normally were priced, by placing whatever sticker at $3.99, $4.99, $5.99, etc. to be able to get that better price for the music that we love.
That's
My
crazy.
first CD, ironically, I remember shit. I'm just some shit. I can't tell you what I was doing 2 hours ago, but I can remember that D'Angelo Brown Sugar was one of the first CDs that I used a UPS code to be able to get for less than. I think I might have got it for $7.99. It was $7.99. So I'm sorry, Ed. Continue.
That's crazy. Y'all was doing that.
Oh, y'all.
Yeah, that's crazy. Y'all was doing that. But no, I think like like you said, Illmatic doesn't always like. If you would actually, I think we spoke about this. Doggy Style is probably my favorite album of all time.
Me too. Me too.
There's me personally. There's
I put Reasonable Doubt above Illmatic as far as me going back and listening to these albums and the quality and how I feel like it impacted me at the time. But even still, I still hold Illmatic. I mean, you know, you can have I like that's the album is a, you know, like one Illmatic might be 1A or 2A or something like that. So it's not like it's saying it's a bad album. But
no, and it's understanding like what it did for like the culture or hip hop culture at the time. Like when you like even today, like not like Nas is, you know, Nas has had to me up until like probably the past 5 years when he's worked with, you know, done that stretch of albums with Hit Boy. Man, like Nas has had some questionable albums, questionable production, like. And despite all of that, Nas has been able to live off of Illmatic for years. As like Illmatic keeps Nas in the upper echelon of when you're doing your rankings of best MCs. Like I feel like a lot of times, like, and that's not to say Nas isn't sharp lyrically. I think a lot of times,
Nas is dope. I feel like
for me a lot of times.
You brought up a great point. Nas' career has been extended more and more and more. I mean, the same thing happens with Lauryn Hill. I wouldn't say Mos Def as much, but he's that type of artist that their careers have been extended based off of the potential of their, I don't want to say potential, but off of the quality of their first offerings within music. So I mean, I was looking at something. It was like a breakdown of all of Nas's albums, and in my opinion, I remember, you know, I mean, it was a nice period from like maybe 2003 until like 2019, where like, I mean, it was hit or miss. I mean, and then you go even further, like, because I mean, you could talk about. I mean, I like Hip Hop Is Dead, but then you know, you talk about Hip Hop Is. I think that was 2000. I don't know. It was mid 2000s. But all that being said, you know, before and after Hip Hop Is Dead, it wasn't really anything. I was buying the music and listening to it, but you know, from Street Disciple, from Godson to, and not even, I think Stillmatic was probably like his last at that point in time, and that was what, 2001. I think that was probably like his last quality album. You know what I'm saying? I thought Godson had some good songs on it, but you know, it was just kind of like, I'll never, you know, he had just lost his mom and stuff like that, so I'll never put, you know, those things. But at the same time, the product that you're putting out there is like, I was trying. And that was the thing too, like being a fan of Illmatic forced me to try to listen to these other albums that, you know, I would, not necessarily I would change my ranking, because I would listen to them and still get my unadulterated opinion. But at the same time, I was like, bro, like, that ain't it.
Man, I'm trying to look at discography in order. Man,
I remember that shit with that Marley nigga. Like, that shit was terrible. And people would tell me like, "Oh man, that was one of the most." I'm like, nah, like y'all are giving these opinions. I mean, niggas would tell you like, motherfucking Lauryn Hill with that Unplugged ass album. Like, oh man, that shit was. you know, she was going through some things. Like, I don't give a fuck what you're going through. Like, give me the album that I want to. Give me the Nas and AZ album that we've been asking for 20, almost 30 years. Give me that album. You know, give me, like, I know what I'm gonna get if y'all two are rocking together. You know, outside of that shit on Illmatic, and I ain't like that shit. But give me a fully produced Primo album. Don't get me wrong, I fuck with Hit Boy. Like the shit that he did, like you said, the shit that he did with Hit Boy, like it damn near, in my opinion, reinvigorated his career for me to pay attention to him again.
Right, right, yeah. They said that Primo album coming. That's what my boy who was a huge Nas fan told me the Primo album's coming.
That shit ain't never coming, man.
He told me it's coming. I trust him. It's coming.
That shit is never coming, nigga. We in 2025.
Nah, he said it's coming. So John, and not the John you know, but this other John I work with. John says it's coming. It's coming.
John don't know shit. Now, I don't know who John is.
I'm gonna tell him next time.
Yeah, tell that nigga he don't know shit about this motherfucking.
Always, I'm gonna let him know. My boy said he doubts you that you don't know anything.
Listen, if look, I'm a math person, right? I look at the shit like this. When was that? When were they projecting that? I think they was projecting that, and I'll be lenient, huh?
1984.
Yeah, I'll be lenient on the projection. And just say they were talking about this album in 2004 to 2025. If they produced one track a year, they could have had 2 albums. I'll say 2 albums. Yeah. Or the way the albums work these days, probably 3. But they could have produced at least 21 tracks.
They could.
So with one track a year, you know, hell, we've gotten a Kanye produced album from Nas. It was only 5 tracks, but we got a Kanye produced album for Nas and haven't gotten a Primo track. And Kanye, amidst all of his weird shit, he produced like 4 or 5 albums like within like 3 or 4 months that year. You know, from Tiana Taylor, from what's that nigga? I got hoes in Atlanta. What's that nigga name? I can't think of his name. Whatever that. Yeah,
he was in a manic state. That's why he was able to get that off.
The Nas album, the fucking Cudi album.
Even though
I See Ghosts or something like that. Yeah. Then the Kanye album. He produced all that shit within like, and I think they were all released like 6 weeks apart or something like that. It was some math to it. We ain't getting no Nas and Primo album. It's not happening.
According to Google, and this is coming from Wikipedia, American rapper Nas and record producer DJ Premier are scheduled to release a collaborative album through Mass Appeal sometime in 2025. Yes. Google AI. Yes. Nas is confirmed to be releasing a new album in 2025 as part of the Mass Appeal Records Legend Hazard series. This series includes new albums from Nas and DJ Premier, along with other hip-hop icons like Mobb Deep, De La Soul, Ghostface Killah, Raekwon, and wait for it, I know the one you're going to be anticipating the most.
Young Jock?
No, the late Big L.
So we got to do a pod on Big L as well. We talked about this shit as well, as far as and we talked about the overrated albums and shit, or overrated artists on the last podcast that we recorded. But you can bring
your boy in for that one because I know he was a big fan.
What are you talking about, Mr. Frank Howard?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because I want to say Mr. Frank Howard had your Big L tape, if I remember correctly.
Oh no, he didn't have my Nas tape, but I don't think I bought that Big L album till like, I think that might have been a Columbia House joint, and it might have been a CD.
If it wasn't yours, it was mine. Because I remember listening, talking to that nigga about. I was like, nah, I'm just not feeling like I wasn't feeling it. That's okay, you know. Like I always say, people look, you know, you all make your decision. I mean, we all listen to music differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
and I'm never going to be able to affect your opinion. We talk so we can have a little bit more influence on each other's opinion. But I remember listening to that Big L album, and I was just like I said, it's a whole nother pod and shit. But yeah, I don't hold Big L in high regard. Only thing I remember about Big L that I thought would have been dope was him if he would have signed a Rockefeller like that was rumored back in the day. I was like, that'd be dope. Because he have Kanye and I don't even say Kanye and Just Blaze was even around back because what year he died? I think 98 and 99 or something like that.
Yeah.
But he would have still like the Timberlands, the Swiss Beats, and all that shit. So even though I don't fuck with,
he ain't anything. He had who's produced? Yeah, him. But who's produced for the Digging in the Crates? Was that Diamond D?
I don't fuck with that nigga, man. Fuck that nigga.
What'd he do?
A nigga tried to play me at motherfucking Six Flags while I was in New Jersey, nigga. Like, I was like, ain't you Diamond D? That nigga was like, nah. I was like, nigga, only fat nigga I know that looked like that nigga is that nigga, and that nigga was that nigga. Like, that was some bullshit.
Maybe he wasn't taking autographs that day.
I wasn't even trying to get an autograph, nigga. I just asked, was that you? Like, nigga, you was not that popping, nigga. Like, you was fucking Diamond D, nigga. You was literally digging in the crates. Like, nobody was fucking with you like that. And that was when I was on co-op, nigga. So that, I don't know if you remember, what's that chick who used to play for Connecticut and shit? I think I told you I was hanging out with her, or we hung out. We went to Six Flags with her ass, Tamika Catchings and shit.
No, I want Tamika. Wait, was it? No, she went to Tennessee.
No, not Tamika Catchings. Tamika,
I know you're talking about, but I can't remember her name.
Yeah, she was sweet as fuck. Like, nigga, she was in the WNBA that 98 or whatever. It was 98 and shit. She was at motherfucking UConn and shit. We went to motherfucking Six Flags with them niggas and shit. Tamika Catchings.
Sound like Diamond D was your David Robinson. You was what David Robinson was to Shaq.
Oh, no, not David Robinson. Pat Ewing. You talking about how Pat Ewing played Shaq? Whatever. Talking about whatever little nigga like whatever rookie or something like that.
Nah, when this was before I think he was even. Well, this was before the pros. Might have been before college. He asked David Robinson for an autograph, and David Robinson. Of course, this is what Shaq says.
When he was in the net, yeah. I remember. Okay.
Yeah, blew him off. But Big L Guru. Before we continue, are there any other dead people you want to shit on today? Nah,
I can't think of too many dead more people that I want to shit on, but definitely, I still never understood Big L. And I feel like it always goes back to the Big L and Jay-Z freestyle and shit. Yeah. And people be like, oh, well, Big L was bigger than Jay-Z. I was like, nigga, like, no, he wasn't. Man. Like, I've heard niggas say Big L are in their top 5 rappers ever. No, and I'm like, from what? Nigga, like, the nigga only had the 2 albums and the second album was piecemeal together, after he died and shit. That nigga was damn fighting for a record deal.
If you want to tell me top 5 based on potential, who never reached their potential?
Shit, throw Cannabis in that bitch. Why don't you?
Yeah, I mean, Cannabis would be in the top 5. Freaky Ty's dead. Anything to say about him?
I fuck with Freaky Ty, man. Like, listen, Freaky Ty used to make motherfucking Lost Boys tracks hot. Here's those how we do. No, for me and you. Give a shout out to your whole crew. I fuck with Freaky Ty, nigga. Like, nigga, I didn't fuck with Spig Nice, nigga. Like, or Pretty Lou, like, nigga. But I fuck with Freaky Ty. And
they were
like, nobody knew who Spig Nice and motherfucking Pretty Lou was and shit.
They were all hype, man, but they didn't know it except Freaky Ty.
Nah, Freaky Ty was the real nigga. Freaky Ty was that nigga. Yeah, I mean, that nigga got shot in the head, but that nigga was a real nigga and shit.
He knew he was the hype man, though.
Yeah, nobody. I can't tell you what Pretty Lou voice sounds like. That shit is not sultry. That shit like niggas don't know what that nigga voice sound like, nigga.
I don't know Lost Boys song without. I just assume Lost Boys is Mr. Cheeks. I know Vinny's voice Vinny from Naughty by Nature. I know his voice before I know anybody else.
I know Vinny.
Voice.
Look, funny sidebar story, but nigga, like I was, huh?
You
said what?
That you up at Six Flags?
Nah, Vinny wasn't there. Nah, fuck Diamond D, nigga. Like, nigga. Okay. But nigga, Vinny wasn't that bad. It's just what's his name? Tretch was just that much better. But I was listening to Vinny, I was like, okay, he ain't that bad, but it just always felt like he was bad just because Tretch would come in and I didn't realize this too. I was looking at some videos and stuff like that. It was saying how Eminem really looked up to Tretch's, and I was listening. I was like, damn, like you can kind of see the flow in the like the way that Eminem's bars are set up. Like it's very like the way that he was, rapping and stuff. Like it was very similar to, not necessarily it was like biting off a Tretch or anything like that, but it was very close to like the cadence, and you can see how Eminem built his cadence from there. So. Right.
So if you could choose only one hot take to like go with, would you go with the hot take that like Big L is trash, or Vinny's not a bad MC?
Oh, I mean, Big L wasn't trash. I wouldn't say Big L was trash. I feel like they put Big L on a pedestal that's not built for him. If that makes sense, like he should not have a pedestal. He was a nice Harlem rapper, but he wasn't. I mean, you could potentially say he was the best out of Harlem. I wouldn't deny that, but honestly, I mean, Mace not signing to Bad Boy. I tell people all the time, like, man, if you actually listen to Mace was nice. Mace could spit.
Yeah, but so better MC, Vinny or Big L?
Oh, Big L without a question. That's not a no. Big L wasn't that. I mean, Big L. I mean, I want to say that bad. Like Big L was dope, but Big L. Well, I feel like Big L was one of them fallen MCs that it's like Big L falls into that category in my opinion of like a Mike Geronimo, where Mike Geronimo was nice.
Yeah.
But, well.
Mike Geronimo or Vinny?
Oh, Mike Geronimo. But what I'm saying is, Mike Geronimo, I say that as in, like, they fell because of label shit, right? So, with Mike Geronimo, right? Mike Geronimo tried to pretty much do the sound of what Puffy was doing. Yeah. And it didn't work for him. I mean, even with Irv Gotti behind, like Mike Geronimo fell so Ja Rule could be successful.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you look back in Ja Rule, I mean, at one point in time, Ja Rule was outselling Jay-Z.
Yeah.
You look at how it's set up, like he was literally outselling Jay-Z. I thought Ja Rule was dope. But I mean, I don't want to go into this other tangent because I know I feel like DMX is overrated, but that's just my opinion. But I don't know.
Not a dead, catch you shit.
Yeah, see that go one. Yeah, there you go. So all right, so let's pivot back to the conversation. How do you feel about halftime?
It was cool. I think this is gonna go for like kind of the remaining songs. Like some of the production I might not have been high on, but like going on the re-listen, like the lyrics are there. Like it's not a question, but I guess that kind of became Nas's theme throughout his career. I'm trying to think who produced this one.
Large Professor. I didn't like any of Large Professor's production on his album.
Okay.
If that matters. He produced this and he produced One Time, and I didn't like that song. I think I might have said Represent. I like Represent. I didn't like One Time. One time for your mind, one time. Yep. It's like whatever. Like I didn't like the flow of the song, but I don't know.
Yeah. So taking that into account, like Yeah, that probably sums up. Like I wasn't like, yeah, like I mean, it was. Like I said, the lyrics were there. It was just I wasn't. I mean, the production wasn't like. I mean, you got Life's of Bitches on there. You got of course, it's New York State of Mind. Even like Memory Lane. Like it wasn't great, but then I mean, you hear the lyrics though, and you're like, okay, this, I think even in like the couple songs where maybe I wasn't necessarily the greatest fan of the production,
Mm-hmm.
you listen to the lyrics though, and you like, shit, he was spinning though,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's probably kind of how I feel about this song. Like it's not, you know, it's it's cool,
No,
you
I
know.
feel that. No, for halftime, it wasn't my favorite song. It was one of the songs that was on. It was on the Zebrahead soundtrack.
Hmm.
Um, One the producer for. I mean, it was produced by Large Professor. Wasn't a huge fan of the production, but it's a little, um, like I said, I mean, the lyrics are there. Like, I drop jewels, run jewels, hope to never run it. It's like little shit like that that sticks out to me. I'm like, like this nigga could still spit.
Right.
Even from all the way back to I went to hell for snuffing Jesus. Is like he was saying things that was kind of like, that stuck out to me. But fast forward to this song, like I said, this Zebrahead I think came out like 92 and 93 somewhere around there. I can't remember, but
Yeah.
he was saying things that, in mind you, I didn't remember this song from the Zebrahead soundtrack. I remember watching that movie, which because it had the dude Michael Rappaport in it. Um,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
yeah, but I wasn't really I didn't like this. I wasn't, soundtracks to me that stuck out to me the most when I was a kid was like Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, Poetic Justice. Um, so I wasn't really like, not to say that it was maybe it was just the East Coast thing, but it wasn't really like the East Coast soundtracks were sticking out to me as much as the West Coast soundtracks. But this was a song that I really didn't like. But as you said, I mean, the lyrics was there, so it is what it is. And like I said, that could be almost like Nas' detriment. Like, and he said this. It's crazy when stuff gets back to the artist, where it's like, well, I'm not good at picking beats. So even fast forward, you talk about all of the stuff that he did with Hit Boy. Um, the beats is there, like,
Yeah.
so, in like I said, when you listen to it, it just flows, and you ain't got like every song, but I mean those albums were pretty good, and that's all it takes. I mean, what little brother say? Dope beats, dope track. I mean, dope lyrics, dope tracks. What more do y'all want?
Yeah.
Like, like that's all it takes.